Hey guys, and welcome to one more episode of Builder Nation. For today's agenda, we have Scott Crawley, President and CEO at VAIA Technologies, the leading provider of automated inspection solutions for companies. So welcome, Scott. Super happy to have you here on the podcast today.
Thank you, Elisa. I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks very much for the invite. You mentioned I'm president of VAIA Technologies, and we design and build automated process and product inspection systems. Our core competency is really machine vision, but we do a lot of automation, a lot of robotics, a lot of analytics with the data as well. And actually the acronym VAIA stands for V for vision, A for automation, I for integration, and A for analytics. So what we typically do is we work with the customer, we scope their requirements, and then we can do basically soup to nuts, full turnkey developments for them. We do all our own internal mechanical and electrical engineering, obviously the vision system design, the user interface design, and we build the systems, test them, deploy them, and then we can also service and support them after they're delivered.
Okay, and talking about the news of the company, I know that you guys just released the ROS 1, which I can tell you I find this really interesting because I had no idea that this exists. That is a robotic knife sharpening system. So maybe we can talk a little bit about it. How did the idea started?
This is a great example of something that we do that we would call process automation. Maybe a way to think about that is we're taking really lousy jobs and making them go away. So our customer, Dexter Russell, they're the biggest industrial knife manufacturer in the US. They came to us and asked us whether we thought it was possible to build a system to resharpen knives automatically using a robot. And they had a number of requirements. They wanted it to be fast. They wanted the system to be able to do everything from a 2.5-inch knife to a 14-inch knife. Obviously a lot of varying widths of knives as well. And they wanted these blades to come off extremely sharp. We worked with the customer to, obviously scope exactly what they needed. And the end result was the ROS 1 system, where we're very proud of the system. We've already shipped a number of these systems, and there's quite a few more on the way. In actual fact, last week at the IPPE show in Atlanta, we were down there with our customer, and we had one of the ROS 1s on site there. And that show is primarily a show for folks who are in the poultry, beef, and pork processing industry. So it was the right target audience for us.
It was definitely. Was it hard in order for you to find the product market fit? Maybe this is like the first kind of partnership that you guys have created in this industry. Are you planning on expanding or going to any other industries?
Obviously, this is one example of a system we're doing for one particular industry. And yes, I would say when we started, we didn't know much about knives or knife sharpening. Now we know an awful lot about it, thanks to our customer and thanks to our great engineering team. But we do a lot of work across a variety of industries in semiconductor, a lot in food and beverage, automotive, logistics. I think the great thing about the technology that we have is the technology itself doesn't change. The applications may change from industry to industry. And so then it's just a matter of working with the customer on the particular application and how we're going to apply the technology. So that's why we can sort of still scale very well, even though we're going across a number of different industries.
And I'm pretty sure that everything has to do with the client's feedback.
It's the most critical thing, I think, is at the outset of a project, we spend a lot of time with the customer on what their requirements are. And honestly, sometimes they have requirements where we say, oh, sorry, there's no way we can do that. And so it's partly a negotiation to arrive at a scope that's going to give them the ROI they need, but at the same time not cause us to take on something that's impossible or maybe has a probability of failing that's too high. So what we want to do at the outset of a project is make sure that when we give the customer a proposal, we're pretty darn sure we're going to be able to deliver it. But sometimes you got to sit down with the customer again and say, okay, we weren't expecting this. Here's what we think we could do with it. And here are the pros and here are the cons. We choose our customers pretty well too. And we want people who are very collaborative. They are as much the owner of the solution as we are. And it's a very engaging process from start to finish and even beyond.
Totally. And I think both sides need to be willing to make changes, right? In order to automate everything and to make it work in a really efficient way. Thank you so much for sharing the process. And I'm curious to ask, how big is your engineering team? Are you guys working mostly on hardware or software or, I don't know, maybe the operations team? How big is it?
Mid-20s, under 30 people across our whole team. The majority of our team are engineers or software developers or vision specialists. Even our field service technicians are highly technical, and that allows us to be very flexible to adjust where we're applying our resources depending on the workload that we may have, and we do pretty much everything in-house. There's very little that we would outsource.
And talking about maybe the pandemic, did you guys have any, I don't know, like purchasing challenges?
Yes, I think everybody did, obviously. That's another example of a situation where you really have to work with your customers. So traditional components that we might buy off the shelf, like a gig-E camera or, other components that weren't manufactured in the US, suddenly the lead times went from 3 weeks to 8 months. And, you've really just got to work with the customer. One of the good things, again, about our engineering team is we can qualify other sources of supply if we need to. So when I talk about something like a gig-E camera, there are lots of people that make gig-E cameras, and provided we qualify it and say to the customer, this is going to work just fine, and by the way, we can get this one in 2 weeks versus that one in 6 months, our customers usually trust our judgment. And that's a huge challenge.
So I bet. And especially because I've heard and I have interviewed a lot of different founders and CEOs in the industry, and all of them have told me the same, especially the CEOs. And I think that it's really interesting because most of the CEOs or founders, like, it depends on the kind of company, but they are either super involved in the operations and engineering team, or they are not, and they're most likely on the business part. So how is that process for you? How is your day-to-day like?
Well, this is the most fun I've ever had working, and I've been around for quite a while. I spent a lot of my career in big corporate America. This was a big change for me, and I'm an engineer. So in some respects, this role, and I've been at this for 8 years now, enabled me to get back to my roots, I'll call them. And, we're a small team, so we can't afford to have passengers on the team, even if that's me, right? So we're all heavily involved in all aspects of the business.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure that you guys are doing an amazing job. I mean, I can see it, and I'm pretty sure that all of your clients can see it as well. And one of the last questions, like, where do you think the future of the industry is going from your perspective?
You hear a lot of things out there in industry about the number of different jobs from all industries that maybe are going to be going away in 10 years or 15 years, and perhaps they're going to be automated, not needed anymore. AI is going to come in, and I think a lot of that's true. And I think customers are going to want automation. They're going to want to use AI in an application. We're doing that on a number of projects right now. So I think the future for us is very bright. Frankly, as we keep doing more of these projects, whether it's process automation, or there's a lot of opportunity for automation in logistics. It's a really exciting time to be in automation in general, but it's very exciting time to be at VAIA as well.
Do you have any advice for future entrepreneurs or engineers or CEOs in the automation industry?
I went from big corporate America to suddenly running my own business, and it was so many changes in so many different ways, so many different things I had to think about, and nearly all of it was great, and certainly I could bring to the table my 30 years of experience doing other things. And I remember someone saying to me very early, they said, "Hey Scott, you're a CEO. You only have 3 jobs. Don't run out of money, don't run out of money, and don't run out of money." I'll tell you, very early on, that's what I spent my time trying to make sure didn't happen. And we're well beyond that now, 8 years down the track. But what you don't want to be doing as an entrepreneur is looking over your shoulder every week or every month, wondering if you're going to be able to make payroll. So making some very good funding decisions, structuring your business appropriately, having the right backing if you need it, having that in place will free your mind to think about what you really want to be doing, which is thinking about great things that are out there, what you're going to deliver for your customers, how you're going to take your market share. That's one piece of advice I would give.
So thank you so much, Scott. Thank you so much for being here today. Do you have any social media handles? Where can people find you? Where can people find the company?
www.vaia-tech.com. That's probably the best way to find us. We love to talk to anybody who may have a potential need for our services, or if it's someone who just wants to call up and have a chat to me or get to know us a little better, we'd be thrilled to entertain those conversations as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And remember, guys, that you can also find more information and interesting articles and interviews just like this one with Scott directly on our website, controlhub.com/builder-nation. We would love to hear from you. And once again, Scott, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences, for sharing everything regarding the company. We are super excited about everything that's coming for you.
Thank you very much. And thank you again for giving me the opportunity to chat on the podcast.